Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Pod Culture Corner. Again, I am your host Troy, joined by
Sean,
Street,
and Awesome.
And today we're going to be talking about the TV fall lineups, like some of the big shows coming out here within the next few months before the Christmas season. And let's talk about one of the bigger ones that are coming out here in October, and that is the Arrowverse. So that's Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and the Legends of Tomorrow. I actually love these shows. But there a lot of them are kind of starting to slip a little bit, so it leaves me weary for how these next seasons are going to go.
I feel like me and my roommate are really into these shows as well, and I think, and same thing with my brother. And I feel like them two have just completely stopped watching Flash because they feel like it's more like a will they, won't they between Iris and Barry, and it's not really focused on the superheroism anymore.
If you've watched the latest season, there very much is a yes, they finally will type of thing.
Right.
But it is, the Flash has definitely gone downhill, in my opinion, because it's taken the lightheartedness that it was in the first couple seasons, and now it's kind of transitioned into more of the dark and serious that Arrow normally was more championed for.
Will they, won't they, what?
Okay,
I'm catching up. I got a lot to learn right now.
Okay, so will they or won't they hook up in the comic books? And even in the show, they even foreshadowed this by showing a newspaper saying Iris Allen. Yeah, I couldn't think of his last name. So, and then Barry eventually found this newspaper thinking that in the future they will get married and stuff like this. So throughout the whole course of the show from that point, it was just like Barry knows, and then Iris is like, it's just a will they or won't they, and then of course
that's pretty interesting. I feel like a lot of people, at least from what I've heard, have been like a little weird, either because the hardcore fans of Flash have been like, well, Flash isn't in the movie that's coming out, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but Flash isn't in the Justice League movie. And so they're like, this is a completely different thing. And so either people are like, I'm not going to watch the movie because he's not my Flash, or they're like, well, he doesn't really matter at this point because he's not the Flash that we need, that we're going to get in the Justice League movie and the potential Flashpoint paradox. With
There is a lot of controversy, between Grant Gustafson, who plays the Flash in the CW universe, not playing it in the Justice League universe. But again, that's the Justice League movie cinematic universe is its own separate entity, and I feel like that's something people don't take, they don't really accept. That should tie together, kind of how Marvel does with their Netflix series as with a movie series. It would be a lot better to do that, but then at that point you couldn't have done the Flash because he's too big of a superhero. Mm-hmm. I feel like with Arrow, he's a little bit of a smaller type of character, even though he is part of the Justice League series. He's a little bit smaller. You can focus there.
Well, I think that part of it is that for people that have been watching since the beginning of these shows, they've gotten when you think of Iron Man, you've seen Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man for so long that you just kind of associate the face with the name. So I feel like now when you think of Flash or Green Arrow, you think of the TV show characters because, in my opinion, they do really play them well. I think, just all around build and everything.
I have a little different viewpoint on this because I've actually never seen any of these shows. But as for someone like myself who's not a huge hardcore comic or superhero fan, which one of these shows would you recommend that I watch, and would I enjoy it?
It all very much depends.
Arrow. You start with Arrow.
Right. You start with Arrow because that's what came out first. But then,
do they go chronologically?
Yes.
Yes.
At one point, and then they sync up. So Arrow goes, and then as Arrow's going on, Flash starts. So they go together.
It comes in season 3.
So yeah, literally one of the episodes of Arrow is introducing Barry Allen, and at the end of that, it shows how Barry Allen got struck by lightning and stuff like that. And even occasionally, now they're actually planning to where an episode of Arrow would be previous to an episode of Flash and then Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl. So they literally 4 different shows line up perfectly in this team ups that they have.
So they're kind of doing a similar thing that Marvel did with the Defenders.
Yes, but they did it at a much quicker pace.
And it's 4 different shows instead of just one show put together.
And so for you, all right, from an outsider who hasn't watched it, do you like the Marvel? Do you like what Marvel does?
I haven't seen too many of the Marvel shows.
So I
haven't really seen the DC.
Like, do you like the idea of like a universe of TV shows?
I've always been a fan of the superhero movies, just because usually production quality is better and just acting usually is better. But I mean, nowadays TV shows, especially with like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, each episode it's like its own little movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because you have Black Mirror, which you don't have to watch anything in order. Same thing with American Horror Story, where like you can watch a season and like it's an old capsule kind of thing, where like you have DC and Marvel going like full on like 4 series together. No, I feel like from an outsider, I haven't been on the outside in a while, so like I don't know what your opinion is.
Yeah, it just seems like we're getting blasted in this day and age right now with just superheroes on TV, superheroes on the big screen and stuff like that. So it's kind of, I don't know what to watch.
I think part of why I like it so much is because it is episodic. Like there are times when it feels like, all right, very villain of the week, blah, 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 blah. All right, this was just a filler episode with nothing happening. But a lot of the times too, it feels like an actual comic book. Like you just, all right, hey, this is my comic I got this week. This is part of the story, and boom, and then you rewatch it all binge when it's all on the actual, all put together in a booklet. But as far as like the different seasons go, Arrow really starts to go downhill for me after season 2.
Yeah,
it definitely started.
That's where I stopped after like season 3, and I was like, yeah.
Season 2 was Deathstroke.
Yes,
yeah.
Oh, the Deathstroke season. That's the best. That's the best season by far. Flash was season 1 and season 2 were both great. Season 3, it's not awful, but it's starting to slip again, just like Arrow was starting to. And then, to be honest, I was never really a huge fan of Supergirl. I kind of just watched it through just so I could get ready for the crossover episodes that they did.
I remember it was originally a Fox show, right?
Yes.
So I remember when the first episode got leaked, and there was like a lot of speculation that it really wasn't like leaked, but more just put out and then said was leaked.
Deadpool.
And I remember watching it, and like I thought it was okay. I thought she was kind of like that, like quirky, like good looking, like I don't know.
Go get her.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And she was just kind of like the intern in the office, to where like, oh, she's actually like the most powerful one there, but she has the most low bottom job.
It just, it felt very like it. I don't know. It felt a little too cartoonish. Like we'd already seen it with Barry. Like he's supposed to be the bumbling idiot type of person, and then all of a sudden he gets endowed with these huge powers, and then you see it again with Supergirl. So it was very like run of the mill. Like here it comes again, like a second time. Like
Is that how it goes in the comics though?
Yeah, but I think it's an answer to. Man, keep going back to the movies, but like Man of Steel, everyone was like, it was a really dark movie where it was like really serious. And so this was kind of their answer, being like, all right, you don't like the serious. Here's a silly little girl, which is basically like Superman, but female. It's literally the only differentiation between Superman, Superwoman, or Supergirl. She just wears short skirts and he just wears underwear.
Yeah.
I think just while we're on the topic of DC shows, a lot of people are kind of also disappointed that like Batman isn't tied into it. Like, but there's Gotham.
Ooh,
and stuff like that. Which was another show that like the first season was just like pretty bad.
Yeah, but then it got
way better.
The new season, oh man, I'm excited.
I never actually got into Gotham. I thought it was actually the first season didn't really grab me. I gave it another shot with the second, and it felt weird because it felt too deviated because it chronologically doesn't add up with what Batman should be. There's a lot of different things, and the fact that it is out of the CW universe in itself, and there's no way for it to come back in at this point. So it has that disconnect that you want, and especially if with a character as big as Batman or as big as Gotham City is as a presence, it feels like that disconnect is just a little bit too hard to overcome, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so far we've had like it starts with like the parents dying, and like you see Commissioner Gordon, or Gordon at that point. I don't really know. I think he was
Commissioner.
Yeah. So like you see him grow, but then I think this season is the trailer, if I remember correctly, there actually shows the beginning of Batman. So he's just like we're about to see Batman like start. So the Batman Begins is where we're at.
But like I feel like. It's starting too soon. Like he's still a child.
Yeah. He has like a crude mask right now. It's really weird.
Right, but like the whole thing with Batman, like in Batman Begins, it literally starts with him going through the League of Assassins and whipping all of them.
Yeah.
And then just kind of escaping and then kind of fumbling around in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like they're starting way too early because people are excited about Gotham and Batman instead of the focus of the actual show, which is Officer Gordon at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get into Gotham, just like you, Troy. I struggled with that. I thought it was kind of slow. But it sounds like what season are they on now?
Season 4, I think.
Season 4 starting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're starting to tie in Batman more and try to draw in some more people.
There's definitely shining moments. Of
Well,
the
yeah,
show.
and then
There
also,
definitely are
again in the trailer, there's you get like a clip of like this guy's face like stitched onto another person's face. I have like flashbacks to like the old Killing Joke, or not the Killing Joke, one of those Joker comics.
Family.
Yeah,
But,
so
but again, that's way too early. But we will go from one superhero show to another, and that is the Punisher Netflix series set to come out here within the next few weeks. And I think it's hopefully something that the Netflix Marvel Universe needs, and we need this Punisher to be well done, because I'm about ready to almost give up on it entirely if this doesn't do well, because of the fact that Iron Fist was a disaster. The Defenders itself was very bland. It was blech, and like only 2 episodes of anything cool. And yeah, like the final climactic battle was completely wasted on nothingness.
Yeah,
Just a stupid Elektra storyline.
Like, literally, you can summarize Iron Fist by literally saying, I am Danny Rand, the Iron Fist. That is literally all you learned. And the fact that he is the defeater of the Hand.
Yeah.
That is literally it.
Also, I'm pretty sure if you laid like the storyline of Iron Fist into the first season of Arrow, it's pretty much the same thing. Because like it's like him, he comes back, he's like a CEO of a company. It literally is like the same concept. It's really weird.
It is a pace by pace. But so I'm like, but with back on the Punisher, because I feel like that was the best part so far of that Netflix season was the Daredevil and Punisher storyline. Even the court case, like with all that happening, I feel like bringing him back would be good. But a lot of people are a little bit worried because even the trailer doesn't seem to show a lot of like the violence that the Punisher will be known for, and people are a little worried that it's going to be toned down for a TV audience.
So like there was that scene in Daredevil season 2 where when he was in jail and he literally massacred an entire block of a jail.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, that was such a cool episode.
and you gotta,
just saying.
and I think you gotta think that like these Netflix shows already are pretty brutal for like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. And like, so you gotta think it's just gonna get worse. I wouldn't think that it would stay the same or get like lower. I feel like it's gonna be more gruesome just because of who the Punisher is.
Well, who is the Punisher? Because again, I'm not too familiar with the Punisher. Is he like an anti-hero?
The Punisher is a vigilante who is literally his own a one-man wrecking crew. Frank Castle was a special forces who went back to his family. His family got killed. Now in different versions, he's killed by something different. But he sees all these heroes around him that are just putting them in jail, and they just get right back out, like this and that and this. It's similar to like the Red Hood story, except not as not as big of a twist than who he is.
Yeah.
So he literally just kills them instead. But he's justified in doing so. He only kills those who he deems deserving to be killed. And he's even come to odds with a bunch of different heroes, but everybody agrees he is a good guy. They just don't agree with his tactics.
Yeah.
And so he's a killer, basically.
So you guys think this show is going to be relatively violent or gruesome?
I think so. Yeah.
The comic, the origin of him is like just violent. Like, that's what he's known for, like ripping fingers off and like shoot like gory deaths and stuff.
Well, I mean, Netflix. It's not on cable TV or anything like that, so I imagine they can do that kind of stuff.
They can,
and they do with other shows.
Right, but
the trailer didn't sell me though. I will say the Punisher, like the trailer itself, was like they were like it almost felt like they were trying to go for it, and like they kind of like fell short. That could just be the fact that they're like they don't want to give everything away in the trailer, and they're like, all right, we should watch the show. You got to find out. Or they could just been like, yeah, we have no idea how to bring the Punisher to life.
But like the one thing I do like, and that this is universal for all of the Netflix shows, is the casting. I forget the guy's name, the guy that played Shane in The Walking Dead.
John
Bernthal. And I feel like he fits on perfectly. Like,
yeah.
I feel like they could have done better. The build and everything is just perfect.
He is very well casted on there. But like again, what he was saying back with the trailer, they really did hold back a lot, which is surprising with what they let him do in Daredevil Season 2. Why not show us a small glimpse of it? Like, even in The Defenders, they showed us, like, that quick little hallway scene where they're trying to get out of that building. Like, all of them fighting, all of them showing a little bit of their differences. but we don't get a lot of it with Frank Castle in that.
Also, is this an origin story of Frank Castle? Because you see his wife dying right in front of his eyes.
So from my understanding, it's kind of going to be similar to Arrow, to where it's going to have its place in modern day, but it's going to flash back to his times in the special forces and stuff like that, and kind of tie into his origin.
Interesting. Everything's just following Arrow. We've come to a conclusion.
That's why, like I said, Arrow season 1, it started off and it said it really well. But again, even Arrow, you can point back to like it's a Batman, but it's like they have this formula that they stick to. And I just hope it does well, because now, to be honest with you, I didn't know that flashbacks were going to be involved, and that's a little discouraging to me. Like
I saw your face drop as you were describing it.
I mean, that's at least from my understanding. I think there was an interview he did on IGN or something that he mentioned that like they're going to show his time in combat. Like that's not him going and killing these bad people.
It doesn't mean it can't be violent or it can't provide for good storytelling, though.
Oh, yeah, no.
Just because there's having flashbacks, it doesn't necessarily mean
it's 100% in the writing and stuff like that. The casting's fine. We've established that. It's all up to the writers now. The actors can act it. Let's just hope the writers can write it.
Yeah, exactly.
And have the writers wrote it well with all these other Netflix
Actually,
shows?
I don't know if is it the same writers as anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
As far as I think they all have the same writing team. I think it's all been pre-established. I think this is the same person who wrote Daredevil, the Daredevil seasons. I know Iron Fist and Defenders was the same writer, but I think it is going to be a little bit different for that. But speaking of writing, a little bit of news dropped about The Walking Dead, which is another show that's going to be starting up here in a few months. I kind of have given up on The Walking Dead. I don't care for it too much anymore after about season 5. It was never my big thing, but people still very much love it and very much enjoy it.
I am very much a supporter of The Walking Dead. This past season, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I wouldn't say it's bad. But I will say that the highlight of this season was just strictly Negan just being Negan. Oh, yeah. And if you read the comic books, Negan is just by far the best character. I mean, at least in my opinion. He has that comic relief while being kind of like that douchey like villain, but in modern comics he's not really a villain. He's working with Rick and everyone. But
I think the guy that casted to play Negan did a great job. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I think his name is. He does a great job.
He was good in Watchmen, the movie. If you've seen that, the same exact role almost.
That's what I saw. I was like, I've seen it before. I have.
Comedian.
Yeah, the comedian. Right.
I've struggled with The Walking Dead though. I still watch it. Like I'm all caught up and everything. But I found that they've strayed away. I've never read the comics, so I don't know. But they've strayed away from the walkers or the zombies being the main focus or the main problem, and now it's like they're absolutely nothing. And now it's other people that are becoming the problem. And I feel like they're straying away from what the show was originally built upon.
Well, I think part of that is because of the fact that The Walking Dead is so universal now, where obviously it started off with the comics, the graphic novels, but then it went to the show, and then there's the video games, but not just one video game. There's like the shitty video games. It was like the really bad like Daryl survival one,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's like the beautiful like Walking Dead by Telltale games, which like is obviously setting a bar, but at the same time I can tell the writers of the show are like under pressure, like we have to match that, and we can't do the same thing. We can't have like the same walkers and the same designs or whatever. We have to do something original.
Well, just saying how like you said, it's kind of like deviating from what it usually stood for. The comic book was originally pitched by Robert Kirkman. I don't know if you guys know this, as a zombie alien comic. Yeah, and then they were like, "Yeah, we really like that idea," and then he completely cut all the aliens out, and it is still Image's one best-selling comic.
I think that's a good move. I think crossing over genres like that, like it's sci-fi enough with zombies, but I do feel like yes, it should have stuck with either more of a zombie thing, and I understand like introducing like the different bad guys and doing all this different thing, but I like the more like inner conflict within the groups. Like that's what made seasons 1 and 2 so great, was the inner conflict between the groups that was trying to survive. Not like just turning it into big gang fights like between 1 or 2, just the inner conflicts between the characters that are in the main group themselves. Because it is like at that point, like this is one of the big arguments I have. At that point, why is everyone just not trying to work together? Why is it so like gang oriented at this point? Like I feel like it'd make more sense to have inner conflicts with like the decisions like, hey, do we move or do we not move? But it got to be like based off survival, not because those people are trying to kill us, even though we have no reason to really hate each other. Like, I just think it's ridiculous.
And this season's definitely not going to change that. This season is essentially what's in the comic books as a comic book series called All Out War, which I think was like 10 comics, I want to say. And it's literally what it seems like.
It's just
going to
isn't
be
a war against Rick and his group versus
Negan.
The Saviors.
And the Saviors,
like
yep.
Yeah. But I feel that this show right now is strictly just, it's on its last breath. And I think it's only surviving right now based on Negan. Because I don't know, other than that, what else is really going on? No, obviously no one's going to help. No government.
I mean, there are like occasional nuggets of like where like it kind of picks up. Obviously, the one episode, or I'm sure even if you didn't watch Walking Dead, you saw the eyeball come out of the head. You know exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
So like, there's like occasional moments there where like the ratings spike. But
so here's what is going to happen. I tried. I messed up again. Just let it go. So here's what's going to happen. Is that they even teased this in the trailer for it. So in the comics, after this war, there's actually like a huge time gap, like that they just kind of fast forward through, and Rick is all old, and you see that at the end of the trailer. He has like a buzz cut and like a long gray beard, and so it's kind of gonna hopefully bring a new breath, yeah, to the show.
New breath into the show.
Introduce some new characters and stuff like that.
Yeah. Hopefully. But again, with bringing new breath into something that took the world kind of by storm, the next season of Stranger Things. Again, like when the trailer first aired during the Super Bowl, I was extremely confused until they showed the kids and just went crazy. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this looks amazing. Like when one of those things, because it left off on such big cliffhanger too. Like he threw whatever was in his mouth up into the sink. So there's something out there in the actual world that's not necessarily in the upside down. So that I am so, like, of all the shows, except for one of them that we will save till the end, I am most excited for it is Stranger Things, because just with how well it was all acted by child actors and by the story that it's set up in the universe that it is entirely set up, it's incredibly. I just can't wait for it. I'm super excited. And plus, I love the whole retro feel. Like, I've just been on a huge 80s retro kick lately.
They really do commit to the whole retro thing. I mean, one of my favorite films that we talked about on the show like yesterday was Super 8, which is a great, like, retro style, but, like, modern story type of thing, and they really do commit to it. Obviously, all the set decoration and props are really cool, but so do the posters. I don't know if you've seen the poster where like he's opening one of the characters, I forget his name, but like opens the door and the red clouds and you see like tentacles coming out. Like, I want to know what happens right now. Like, it was really excited for it. The posters itself are really good.
It looks amazing.
Now, I'll be honest. I didn't watch past the first episode. Is there a reason to?
It picks up. It definitely does pick up.
That was my thing. Is that like I watched it, I was like, it didn't really sell me, you know? And, like, I've heard good things. There's, like, certain shows that you just hear good things and you want to like, you know?
Yeah.
And that was definitely one of them for me. So I guess I'll have to try.
It is one of those, like, sit-down things. Because I remember, too, when I first started watching it, my little brother was like, hey, let's watch this show together, Troy. Let's watch Stranger Things. And so I was like, all right, man. And so we sat down and we started watching. And, again, yeah, I wasn't too, like, keen on it. Like, I did not like Winona Ryder's character at all.
Really?
I didn't think she was doing a good job at first. But then, like, you know, as it went on, I was like, okay, I like this. I felt the same way about Game of Thrones, to be honest, too. When I watched the first season of Game of Thrones, I was like, why do people like this show? But it mastered the cliffhanger so well. Like, after the first episode, when Bran falls out of the tower, like, well, what happens now? Like, you know, okay, well, what's happening now? With Stranger Things, it was more like more of the same. It's like, well, all right. Well, what are you going to do now? Whoa, what are you going to do now? Oh, my God, what are you doing now? Like, you get fully invested in it with the more time you put into it.
But even with me just watching the first episode, I really enjoyed the casting. Like, I had no problems with that. I felt like everyone played their role perfectly, but it was just more with I didn't like the story at first.
Poor Barb.
Poor Barb.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Let's not bring back memories now.
It does start off slow, but it picks up with. It's slow for a good reason. I feel like the pacing was fine actually. I like looking back on it and giving it a rewatch. The pacing actually worked because we're learning along with these characters and they're not figuring it out too fast. And I think part of what made it so good was because nerd culture has very much taken off. Like it is like being a nerd is not what it used to be. And so watching things that are back in that time, like when being a nerd was kind of like cliched and nobody did it, like to watch these kids handle the whole thing like a big D&D campaign or like a big video game. It was kind of cool and interesting to watch, like bring back to that childhood of like that imagination type of thing. But then you actually have like the elements of superpowers with 11 and I said this in our taping of our main show yesterday. That Billy Bobby Brown, what is it? Something Bobby Brown.
It's Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, that. Yeah. She is phenomenal. Like she has very few lines throughout the entire show, but you fall in love with 11. Like she just portrays her with such emotion, and you really feel like this is a scared little girl who has this immense power, who's just on the run and doesn't know what to do and wants to be accepted. It's very well done all across the board, and I'm just very excited for season 2.
Is she your favorite character? 11?
Yes, I think 11 was probably the highlight of that show for sure. I did really like Mike. I thought he was really good, and I loved that actor too in It.
And
it was just so
hilarious.
funny.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I would say like 11's, like if I had to pick one character, but I think there's like a specific point in the show where like, not spoilers, but there's one episode where they're getting bullied and they're on the edge of the cliff and stuff, and like they kind of come together. I feel like that, like the group itself is a character. Similar like how in It, like they're all, it's like the group itself, like that's my favorite character because they all have a really good chemistry together.
Kind of like the Goonies.
All right, you know what?
It's more of a Stand By Me. It's more of like a Stephen King feel. Stand By Me. Like that's very much what is taking back off is like the small group of kids coming back together to fight off one main common enemy.
Do you think they'll end up running out of ideas though with the show? Because I know they're going back. You know, Will Byers isn't out of the woods just quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
He's still in trouble. Do you think they could have done more, or do you like them going back with Will being in trouble? Or
I think they kind of have to with the way they say. It's not like they're introducing a new problem. That problem was prevalent at the end of season 1 with him throwing whatever that was back up into the sink. So there's still something that was brought back out of him. And again,
I'm just worried he's going to get old after a certain point. Well, it was really original, the show, like especially watching it last summer. I was like, oh, this is so different from anything else I've ever watched. But I just don't want it to get too repetitive.
Well, coming from someone that clearly has not finished season 1 of Stranger Things, but kind of in that same sense, I have watched Supernatural, even though people kind of say it's like a girl show. I don't care. But yeah, like that's kind of the same thing is that you think, oh, it's going to get old, and then this problem occurs from the solution of the last thing, and that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah.
we will see. But the one thing that, doesn't necessarily get old because it's very new every season. The last show we had to talk about today that is actually right now it's already in the middle of showing up, but it's part of the fall schedule. And one of my personal favorite show that's on this list has been American Horror Story. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, it's an anthology film, so you can pick it up literally at any season and watch it and be perfectly fine to keep going. And this season has been talking about more like, it's extremely modern day in the fact that it is a post-Trump winning the election and everything falling through with that. And it very much plays into the phobias that everybody's got, like with the fear of clowns, that stupid little hole thing that people had that phobia of for a little bit that showed up all over Facebook for like a few months. And
that really disturbed me. And I'm not even like afraid of holes. Like I was like on Instagram scrolling through. It was on the comedy section or some stupid thing like that. I was like, wait, this is not funny at all.
It is a real thing though.
It is.
Yeah,
It is. I'm not scared of the little holes, but it's really unnerving to look at.
Even the poster design for AHS is really, really cool. But like the poster was like the tongue is out with like the bees. There's like the tongue is out with the holes are. Oh god!
Explain this whole thing to me. I don't know.
It was literally like it's literally if people have a fear of holes, and there was this whole thing where it was actually like a picture of a flower that was superimposed onto a guy's arm that made it look like he had these weird hole indents, or they put it on different parts of the body. It was just an unnerving thing to look at, and it even sounds gross, and it just looked really weird and really strange. But the show plays on like this one main character. She has all these different phobias. Like she's just scared of almost everything. And in the beginning of every episode, before they go into their opening credit montage, which again, that's some of the coolest things.
So different.
It's so weird and just so trippy. But it all plays on a different fear. Like the last week was this girl who had a fear of enclosed spaces, not like claustrophobia, but being buried, because I guess her dad would like lock her into a cupboard when she was bad, so she just had that type of fear. And then it ends up like she goes back to the house, and the main antagonist this season is just this group of clowns. We can't tell if they're supernatural or what it is. It's obviously probably going to be a cult, hence the title of this season. But like they break into her house, lock her into a casket, and lock her and her husband into a casket and kill them. Like it is very back to its roots, and it's like actually very more story oriented and has a plot line where you can see it's going to go somewhere and things are going to come back into later.
Well, I think that's kind of what drove me away from the series in the first place. I really enjoyed the first season with the house and like the gimp and all that. I thought that was great. I thought everything about it was great. Had a big twist at the end. Perfect. And then season 2 came along, and I think that was Asylum. I don't think I even really gave that a chance.
Really? Asylum, I felt, was one of the stronger seasons, in my opinion. I thought it was just really well done. And what again, American Horror Story is an anthology, so each season's a little bit different. And as you keep going through, especially after Asylum, you have Coven, which is my personal favorite season.
The absolute
After
best.
that, it starts to decline. And I don't really know why. It's just, it goes away, like Troy, you said, away from its roots, and now it's getting back to being more dark, more of a horror-oriented show. Mm-hmm. It's really making me excited for what else they have to come.
Yeah, because I think the reason why I like Coven so much is because it did an amazing job of setting up a actual world. Like you actually felt like when you had the witches versus like the voodoo, and then you had all these different little stories of like the witches from the old days coming back. Like they brought back like the one lady who was torturing her slaves and everything. It was like Kathy Bates, but then you got Hotel, which was just which it wasn't bad, but they were definitely trying to get their money's worth out of Lady Gaga, which was just a stupid vampire thing. I didn't personally like it, but it wasn't my least favorite. Unlike Roanoke, where they tried to do an entire series based off like it was a reality show gone wrong, and then it was like it just was a weird narrative that didn't feel like it was going anywhere. It was supposed to feel like real life, but just did a horrible job of doing so. But now that they're finally back into like something with the narrative, something with an actual like play on people's phobias type of thing, I feel like is a lot.
I feel like the fact that it's kind of timely, at least from the way you guys are describing it, I feel like that is very helpful. Like I feel like living almost in like what's to come and seeing that, I feel like that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. There is an interesting theory going on the internet right now about all the seasons of American Horror Story are like the 9 circles of hell. Mm-hmm. Each season represents a different circle. It's something different to look up and look at.
Is the show like based on something? Is that a book or is it just a computer?
No, it's just their own idea.
Oh, that's really dope. That's really cool. Like just have an idea and be like, let's make that. And
what's interesting too is you have all these great actors. Who come back, like Sarah Paulson has been in every season. I really do miss Jessica Lange.
She was the same. See, to me, she was the same character every season. She was a great
actress, though.
She is, but the character was the same every time. So it was like that's why I felt like in Coven it worked the best. In Freak Show, it was all right. Like okay.
Wait, is this the older lady?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's the same exact character. I agree.
Mm-hmm. I do miss Emma Roberts though. I'm not gonna lie.
I thought was coming back.
Scream Queen.
Scream Queens. Yeah. Which I don't know if that got greenlit, but. I'd say that's about all the time we got for this one, guys. So be sure to check out a lot of these shows, and thanks for turning into Pop Culture Corner or Pod Culture Corner for us. And special thanks to everyone who's been helping out with the show this week. If you guys are interested, you guys can find us online and all over social media. We are on Facebook at /PCCPSNTV and on Twitter at Pop Culture Corner. There is no R on the end of that, so it's actually just Pop Culture, CORNE. Our website too, psu.edu/popculturecorner, and you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. So also be sure to check out our main show where we'll be actually doing filming and talking about little snippets on different pop culture stuff on YouTube. So there'll be a link down in the description. But thanks, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
One more message before we go. You're going to hear me say this in the show for the next couple of months. We're taking a survey of our listeners, and we'd like you to participate. It'll help us learn a little bit more about you, no matter how long you've been a listener or how frequently you listen to the show. So please take a few minutes and visit our website at sites.psu.edu/popculturecorner/survey. And you can complete the survey anonymously. It'll really help us out in getting to know who's listening to our show, and hopefully we can put out a better product. Thank you so much, and please tune in next time.